How's it going, everyone? It's Kale here, and today I am going to be clearing up some space in the garden to be able to plant some more seedlings that we've got growing. Before I show you what I'm doing, I thought it'd be a good idea just to mention a few tips about transplanting seedlings. And the first thing that you would notice is once you've transplanted them, they are not going to look very happy. They might look like they're dying, they'll wither a bit, they'll kind of flop over, and that's normal. And the second thing, which is quite important, is when you're growing something for the first time, don't just plant everything exactly how the instructions say. So they might say, you know, they need to be, you know, in pots or here or direct seed them. They'll give you a list of instructions. Now obviously there are some things you would need to pay attention to, like if they need rich soil, or just kind of they don't need any compost, they don't need fertilizer, or if they need to be planted in summer or spring. But your little area or microclimate is going to be really different to somewhere that could just be down the block, you know, or down the road. You know, you might get different sun, you might get different wind because of the buildings around you. So what I'm going to do today is all the different things I'm going to plant in different ways. So I'll plant some outside in the elements, in different parts of the garden, because different parts of the garden get different kinds of different amounts of sun and are protected. I'm going to plant some in pots, and in pots of varying sizes, because some plants might need bigger pots and some don't need that, you know, big pots at all. They could just go in a small little pot. And then the others I'm going to plant under protection, so basically in the polytunnel. And the reason I think it's important to do that is that when if you want a particular vegetable and you want to keep growing it year to year, you're going to want to find the best way to grow it. So I always think it's a good idea to experiment with your seeds and your seedlings, because going forward in the next seasons you'll be able to judge by the previous season how well things did. So those are the two main things I think that you need to bear in mind when planting seedlings. So I'll get started and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So those are all the greens that I'm going to cut out, and I'll use this whole backspace over here for all the other seedlings I need to plant. So there's probably quite a bit of work. I'll cut all that out, get ut of all those weeds over there. I've completely given up on the kale, it just keeps on getting mutilated, so you know, I probably should put protection around that, because obviously the bugs and the caterpillars and snails really like them. So we got quite a good haul. That is an entire plastic tote full of greens. So I'll probably just rinse those off and then cut them up and put them into bags, I think. Okay, so in terms of spacing, I'll probably put them a couple of inches apart and see how they do. I've never planted these before, so I'm not too sure how much space they actually need. So basically they should pop really easily out of these trays, and they do. I'm gonna make a little hole for them, you know, relatively deeper than they need to be. Basically, you don't want to plant them too high up. You can see they're quite spindly, so I'm going to try plant them, you know, at least up to there, so at least when they grow, they hopefully, you know, they can have a bit of strength. So just pop that in gently, and there we go. So the next one I'll probably put, that's about that far apart, so I'd probably get about 3 rows. So make it maybe a bit more than that. So like, let's say there, make a hole. You can see this one's extra spindly. I think the reason for that as well is, you know, if they don't get enough direct sunlight, they basically shoot up and try to get really tall to reach natural sunlight. So that's probably the reason they're a bit sort of leggy like that. Okay, so what I've also done is I've actually planted some of these in pots like I said I would, and if they don't work, it doesn't really matter. It's like I said, I'm just trying to see how well they grow in different situations. So for example, a good reason to do it is if they do really well in pots, and I want to plant them again next year, and I run into the problem where I don't have space like I have today and I had to remove all our greens, I'll say, well, actually last year they worked really well in pots, so I can leave all my greens in the ground and just plant them in pots. The last thing I'd like to get planted today are some mustard greens. Now, I don't think the mustard greens are going to get as big as the red Ursa kale, so I've got some space under here, so I'm going to clear all that up, plant some over there, and I will clear all this up where our radishes were and plant some there. It should, you know, I'm going to plant them quite densely, and I think, you know, we can just cut them and they'll grow again as far as I know. So it should be okay having them in a bit of a smaller space. As you can see, you know, they're quite densely planted. The one thing I will say about these mustard greens is they are incredibly delicate, and I probably won't plant them in such small seed trays again. They just fall apart really easily, so it'd probably be better if they go into slightly larger seed trays. So if you do decide to get some of these, it may be worth keeping that in mind if you want to plant them in seed trays before going into the ground. Okay, so I'm in the polytunnel now, and I'm going to plant the last of the mustard greens. So I'm going to do the Osaka purple, which are those over there. If you look closely, you can see a bit of purple sort of coming through now. And then also the last of the red Ursa kale. This will be the last batch of seedlings that I plant for the day. We've got quite a lot done, and you know, hopefully we start getting some really good greens in a couple of months or so. I'll probably plant the Osaka purple quite close together. I think the leaves get really big, but it's, you know, again, this is all part of a bit of an experiment really to see how they do, and you know, it'll teach us how we can go about doing it next year. Again, these really small seed trays aren't ideal, and I will probably not use them ever again. So that's the Osaka purple and the red Ursa kale, just the last ones planted in here. So you know, we'll see how those get on compared to the ones outside and in pots. So that's it for today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I planted the different seedlings all over the place, and I'll keep a mental note of how well they do. These varieties are all good to sort of grow into autumn and into winter, so I probably won't be growing too much other winter veg. If you guys want to carry on watching videos like these, hit the subscribe button now. It would be great if you could leave a like and a comment and share this video with your friends and family. I hope you get something from these videos, because I'm really enjoying making them, and I really appreciate that you guys spend time to watch what I'm doing and sort of follow the journey that I'm on to grow vegetables for a living. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a good week.